think in terms of selecting work for portfolios, it's never easy. Put too much in and it could be confusing. Too little in doesn't give you a clear sense of the portfolio. What we really want to see, though, we want to see development. And we want to see that you've put enough in to show that you've tried things out. And some of them may not have worked very well, but they led on to something.
I didn't get really good feedback for this work, unfortunately.
It's obvious that a lot came out of this project. A lot went in and you got a lot out, even though the overall feedback might not have been,
might not have been great. Yeah.
Very often candidates are presenting, say, 40 pieces of oil painting. So the advice would be try a different way of working. Clearly you're very good at oil painting. Why not work with mixed media so that you can actually work in a way that's outside of your comfort zone? That's where the breakthroughs occur.
If you've done a life drawing class, you would have hundreds of images from life drawing. Pick 10 and make sure that those 10 reflect different skills. It may be wet media, it may be charcoal, maybe something you've worked on for a long time, maybe a 5-minute sketch.
You definitely should show that you tried several different techniques, and if you got something particularly interesting, you should do more. And also the portfolio should show the design process, the way you're thinking. That's what the interview was more interested in. Because I want to show the fluency during the design process as well.
The way it's flowing through.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
And this is the final piece.
Okay.
I prepared this really amazing book where everything was polished, every page was laid out really nicely with a short explanation. During my interview, what the interviewer really liked seeing was the sketchbooks that I kept while traveling, the sketchbooks that I had during the process, the messy stuff, the stuff that I was embarrassed to kind of show. I would be like, okay, let's look at here and not look at this and then look at that. And he'd be like, no, let's look at what you didn't want to see.
We ask students not only to present work that's skill-based, but also to think about a visual journal or a diary, a notebook, a sketchbook that explores things that are more unique to them.
I mean, I've got a sketchbook that is so messy and so full of nonsense, but that it really is this was part of the letter process.
But it's fascinating to look at because here I can see the way you've laboured over your ideas and that you're trying to visualise what's in your mind.
We're human and everybody makes mistakes and sometimes things don't work out, but I think it's very important to show if something doesn't work out how you would go about to resolve it and to make it work.
But the outcome was kind of this 4 and 20 blackbirds.
Bird pie.
Yeah. And my final piece is this. Now, I don't feel this has worked how I imagined it in my head.
How did you envisage it?
I just envisaged it a lot more bright, a lot more bold, with a lot more textiles.
Be selective in the sense that you do take some time to think about your work and how you want to structure and order it. That is a very important process that I need to recognise from an applicant, because I can see that they're being professional.
I was explored this different thing before, and then I went into crying.
Think about it telling a story. When you open it, what is the person looking at your portfolio going to see first?
So nice strong opening page. Do you want to tell me a little bit about these ghost birds here?
Well, it was just like a relaxing stuff.
That first page is really important. A lot of students will tend to put work they've done in the chronological order that they've done it, say at school. And quite often the piece that's the oldest will be the weakest. So always start with a strong piece of work. A strong beginning, a strong ending, and then the journey in the middle is where you could put work that's not finished or that maybe veered off in a way that you weren't quite expecting, but that's what makes it interesting.
And I found this one on the plastic worked quite well, so I could develop this into the small samples.
One life experience can be the reason that you want to do film or whatever you're trying to do. And I think I experienced one of them just a year after I got my baccalaureate, and I was wondering what I want to do. where it's all about a trip I made to another country to see a singer, and it's just the experience I had to face throughout that journey. I think it was the moment where I said, that should be made into film.
It might be that you started off a project from a single photograph, a random photograph that you took when you were out shopping. And then that might develop into something else, and we'd like to see that bit of research, and then a few sketches, and then how it developed into your final piece.
It's really hard to say I want to make a film of myself, but that is with everything. The artist always has to put himself in it.
So if you were to look at your folio, where do you feel is your strongest work?
The strongest one is that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important that students understand there is a certain amount of research and writing that is key to the development of their work.
So when you design a new look for the new look company, you think about, they give you say they want the color, they want the fabric, they want the material?
With the materials, we had the freedom to choose which ones we thought would work. And you had a bit of freedom to play around, but they were quite specific in what they wanted. But again, that was good practice for me because everything beforehand I'd had complete freedom to do whatever I wanted, whereas here it was working to a really tight brief. So
having a good base knowledge of the area and specific knowledge of people that you respect and the processes they adopt will really help you form your own opinion.
I think this body of work started mainly with this image, which is Merritt Oppenheim.
Yes. Surrealist.
Yeah.
What we try and do with a student when we get them onto the foundation is to break down the conception that they're being guided all the time. And my advice would be to make sure that within all their technical work, their beautiful drawings that's taken them weeks to do, I would also like to see some creative work, which is maybe more bricolage or montage or dealing with found objects. See, I don't dislike the fact that you've got a fairly sort of individual way of approaching how you develop.
When you're in the initial stages of applying to a degree or something, I think people, especially tutors, like to see your progression from the idea to the finished piece or whether it hasn't been resolved. I think that story is really important.
Don't be embarrassed to show that sketchbook that you think nobody wants to see, or even if it's a book where you've just been writing lots and you've got a random line drawing or a doodle. Include that because that often is the essence of you, it's you thinking.
What helped you decide what to put into your portfolio?
Well, first of all, I kind of want to show some basic drawing skills I have got.
Like this drawing here?
Yeah.
And obviously to show the passion because it is very much about an extension of their personality. So don't submit what you think we want to see, submit what you want us to see.
I try to show my passion from this page, it's clothing really, and something to do with character.
Obviously you want to show off your best pieces, and if you've got loads of stuff that you really like, it's going to be difficult, but you've just got to think about it pragmatically, looking at all of your work. What work is necessary to be in there? I studied an artist called Margie Geerlings, whose work is mainly photography, but it's also incorporated with knitting, crocheting, stitching. Just think about, if you're having an interview, what you could say about that piece of work. If there's something that you really like, but you can't really say much about it, then it's probably best not to put that in. As you can see, I sort of started with young to old. So, say if an old person sort of misses their youth and wants to make themselves young again, I was sort of comparing the two.
Okay.
The advice I would give is that it must be a sense of story unfolding. And at the end of a portfolio, what I really like to see is the evidence that, given the chance and the opportunities, the space, the time, that a lot of new ideas will emerge. So I want to see the evidence of really good potential at the end. It's not about weak works or strong works, but the sense that it can continue. It's the continuity, it's part of the beginning of a story which can go on.